Good day. Welcome yet again to another video by Assure Foods. Today we'll be engaging on the topic Listeriosis claims as per the Consumer Protection Act. It is truly an honor to be engaging on this topic with you today. Listeriosis is a foodborne infection caused by the Listeria bacteria. The majority of people who become infected rarely notice the infection. However, those at risk can be severely affected and mortality rates are relatively high. Listeriosis can be a serious infection as it strikes the vulnerable group, that is, pregnant women, newborns, the elderly, and those who have a compromised immune system. In 2017, listeriosis was identified as an outbreak in South Africa, and then the cause was unknown. Listeria are gram-positive rod-shaped facultative anaerobic bacteria, which do not produce endospores. The genus Listeria currently comprises 17 characterized species, of which only 2 are known to be pathogenic to humans, that is, Listeria monocytogenes and Listeria ivanovi. Food products and related processing environments are commonly contaminated with pathogenic species, and Listeria monocytogenes is the causative agent of multiple outbreaks of listeriosis worldwide. It is associated with a variety of foods such as milk, other dairy products, vegetables, salads, meat products, and ready-to-eat food. The legislation that is responsible for governing listeriosis are as follows: the FCD Act, the regulations governing general hygiene requirements for premises, the transport of food and related matters, the regulations relating to the surveillance and the control of medical conditions, and the Consumer Protection Act. Listeriosis is acquired through inhalation and ingestion. In ruminants, listeriosis typically occurs after the consumption of contaminated silage or other feeds. But for humans, contaminated and sources of food include raw meat and fish, unpasteurized dairy products and uncooked vegetables, and the Listeria monocytogenes have already been found in foods contaminated after processing, particularly soft cheeses, daily cold cuts, sliced or grated cheese, ice cream, and bologna. Now, as previously stated, one of the legislations that govern listeriosis includes Consumer Protection Act. The Consumer Protection Act aims to promote a fair, accessible, and sustainable marketplace for consumer products and services. It aims to establish national norms and standards to ensure consumer protection. It makes provision for improved standards of consumer information to prohibit certain unfair marketing and business practices. It promotes responsible consumer behavior. It aims to promote a consistent legislative and enforcement framework related to consumer transactions and agreements. It aims to establish the National Consumer Commission and replace, in a new and simplified manner, existing provisions. Now, as previously To make a claim against a food seller for listeriosis, there is a procedure that was stipulated. Under Section 61 of the Consumer Protection Act, claims for damages are allowed irrespective of whether there was negligence on the part of the supplier or manufacturer. The type of harm for which a consumer can claim damages for include the death of injury to any natural person, any illness of any natural person, any loss of physical damage to any property, irregardless or irrespective of whether it is movable or immovable. And lastly, any economic loss that results from any of the types of the harm that was stated previously. Now, in order to claim against a food seller for listeriosis, the Consumer Protection Act does not specifically state where a customer may lodge a claim for damages for such harm. But however, in Section 61, the powers to determine whether any harm or claim has been proven, and the court's power to assess the extent of the harm and to apportion liability among persons found to be jointly and severally liable. It is therefore arguable that such a claim must be made either the magistrate's court or to the High Court. Now, there is a state that has been stipulated that may accept claims that are made by consumers for listeriosis, and that is the Consumer Goods and Services Ombuds, which is also known as the CGSO. The CGSO has mediated disputes between suppliers and consumers, which were relating to spoiled food or illnesses arising from consuming food bought at restaurants or at takeaway places. This means that consumers can lodge a complaint relating to food poisoning or listeriosis with the CGSO. And in many instances, suppliers provided replacement or refund where the product did not cause any illness. But where illness arose, suppliers provided additional compensation despite the consumer not supplying proof that their illness is directly linked to the product consumed, nor the supplier admitting liability. The CGSR is not an investigative body and can only assist parties to resolve the dispute amicably. Where the CGSO fails to resolve the dispute, the consumer can approach the National Consumer Commission or proceed to court where a claim for damages is involved. In many instances, suppliers provide replacement for their foodstuffs or refunds as previously stated, especially if there was no illness that arose from that specific food poisoning or foodborne illness. Now, in 2017, listeriosis outbreak was traced back to a food brand in South Africa, and the procedure followed at the time was: if a consumer had bought a foodstuff manufactured by the brand and had a purchasing slip with, then the consumer had to return the product where they had bought it together with a tail slip as proof. But it was accepted that as well the consumer may submit or rather return the product to the store even if there is a case of the unavailability of the T-slip for as long as it came from the supplier. Now, to wrap our engagement today. Listeriosis has been identified as a notifiable medical condition in South Africa since the outbreak that occurred in 2017. The people who are most at risk of contracting the disease or other infection include pregnant women, newborns, the elderly, and those people with a compromised immune system. There are certain laws that govern listeriosis, and one that is responsible for ensuring that claims are properly followed is the Consumer Protection Act. Mostly, suppliers make use of the return the product procedure, and this was the same procedure that was followed in 2017 in South Africa for listeriosis. Now, to all our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in today, and kindly do press the subscribe button, press that like button, and kindly do make suggestions of topics that you would like us to touch on even as we proceed with our content at Ashu Foods. Until next time, goodbye.